You are listening to the Be the Bridge podcast with Latasha Morrison.
How you guys doing today? It's exciting.
Each week, Be the Bridge podcast tackles subjects related to race and culture with the goal of bringing understanding.
But I'm going to do it in the spirit of love.
We believe understanding can move us toward racial healing, racial equity, and racial unity. Latasha Morrison is the founder of Be the Bridge, which is an organization responding to racial brokenness and systemic injustice in our world. This podcast is an extension of our vision to make sure people are no longer conditioned by a racialized society, but grounded in truth. If you have not hit the subscribe button, please do so now. Without further ado, let's begin today's podcast. Oh, and stick around for some important information at the end.
You guys, I am so happy to introduce a new friend to the Be the Bridge podcast. I met him just a few months ago. And when I met him, I knew that I wanted to introduce him to the Be the Bridge community. I love the work that he's doing. And friend, would you introduce yourself to the Be the Bridge community?
Malo Elele, my name is Aisea Taimani, but friends and family call me Sea, so feel free to call me Sea.
Sea, I'm so glad to have you on the podcast, and you are a brilliant American creative. You're based in the Bay Area. I tell you, the Bay Area is producing some phenomenal leaders out there. He works and serves alongside of his wife, Elmira. And, you know, I just love the work that you're doing. I had the opportunity to hear you perform and sing, and I was just astonished. I love people who are talking about just global worship and then allow us to think bigger about just worship music as a whole and to get us out of our worship boxes. And I love what you're doing, Saya. And you know, you are a Tongan creative, and you are from the country of. Go ahead and tell us, what country are you from?
Tonga, the Kingdom of Tonga. Yeah.
Okay, now tell us a little bit about the country that you're from. And I know that I want to hear, there were some things that happened.
Well, international aid efforts are being ramped up to Tonga. We're 3 days on from that massive undersea volcanic eruption, and the tsunami that followed has cut off nearly all communications to the country. Tonga's in the South Pacific.
I've never had a chance to visit. This is in the Pacific Islands, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, but I know I met you. So tell us a little bit about your country and the culture there, and how it has shaped you into the person that you are today.
Yeah, thank you so much. The Kingdom of Tonga, we are a humble island in the South Pacific, near Fiji and Samoa and New Zealand. And so, yeah, it's a really beautiful island with deep, just as far as tradition and as far as the community there, really strong family ties, and there's just a lot of that continues to be practiced and incorporated in everything that we do here in the States. But yeah, my parents came in the 70s, and so just growing up here in the States, that's sorry, I'm a little nervous right now.
No, you're good. Yeah. And Saya, you served internationally as a minister of music for about 20 years with the focus on Glocal worship. You know, you use that as a tool to invite, to equip, and to celebrate diversity in the body of Christ. And then I think just this year on January the 17th, you guys released your third full-length album, and it was recorded in San Jose, California. I love the fact that you mentor and that you collaborate with local artists, and you know, you have built authentic a real authentic spiritual creative community. And when you talk about Glocal worship, can you explain to us, like, what is Glocal worship? Like, what is it? How do we listen to it? And why is it really, truly, I believe, the way of the future?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think, this was a term that I didn't grow up with. I mean, we've always heard, local and global. But I think this term was just an opportunity to really imagine how we look at the world, especially as a people of faith, recognizing that, in order to reach people, you no longer have to go, have to travel out of your country. I mean, these are people that live right next door to us. And so I think for me, I grew up, in my daddy's church, First Tongan Assembly of God, where so many of the songs that we sang were songs from Tonga. And then we took a lot of the music that was around us here in the Bay Area, Andre Crouch, Shirley Caesar, a lot of gospel music. And my dad, as the minister of music, would take these songs and translate them and write Tongan versions of it. So just growing up, I always had a deep appreciation for just the music that was around us and the way that we were able to make it our own. And so growing up, I'll say that so much of the work that I do stemmed from a longing, never really quite feeling American enough and never feeling Tongan enough, even from my own Tongan community, and finding myself in this middle space. And so a lot of the work that I do is trying to create spaces where those who find ourselves in the middle can really celebrate just that place, and knowing that part of being a bridge is being okay in that middle space. And so I'll say that with Glocal worship, this was a new thing that was introduced to me by a community that was initiated by the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, the ELCA, that really created a space for creatives and artists and from all different denominations to be invited to learn and to share songs from our own cultures. With it, came some obvious challenges, but the things that we experience is just recognizing, just the beauty, the gift of being able to truly get a glimpse of what the kingdom sounds like, with its beautiful diversity, its intentional diversity, and at the same time, also being able to come back home and see how scarce this is, and then begin asking the question, why? Why is worship so? Why does it seem to be so limited as far as the different styles of worship? Why are there certain styles that are elevated over others? And so much more than arriving to answers. I think being in these spaces just gave me the questions to start asking. Why are we doing what we're doing? If we are trying to be reaching out to all people and really trying to be multi-ethnic and multicultural. So, I think
That's
along
so
the
good.
journey, as I was asking more questions and creating more spaces, just for people in our congregations, I think we started to really address the reality that many of us have assimilated. Many of us have assimilated, and many of us have not just assimilated culturally, but also we've been deeply shaped by a theology that seems foreign to many of us, because the reality that many of us came from different cultures. But it's just been fascinating. Even if you go to Tonga now, a lot of the worship is shaped by Hillsong, and again, these are I'm trying to be careful how I
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. This shaped by, Hillsong and Bethel and different things where it's like we lose our own cultural connection and we assimilate into this sound. And I think, I like what you were saying, like you kind of take it, your dad would take the music and the different inspirations of music and make it, in a Tongan like style, and
Absolutely.
I remember when I went to Africa and, when we were out in the rural area of Africa, we would hear no instruments, but they would they had this a piece of drum and they would do worship and creative worship with that drum. And it was just so it was so liberating, and then I remember going to, a couple churches in Africa and really seeing just kind of like an imitation. I think there's nothing wrong with, us singing each other's songs and all those different things. But when it even comes to the enunciation and how you present, I think they were singing Good Father, but they were singing it just like, the guy who sings it. And I was just like, wait a minute, I'm in Africa. Am I in Africa? And I think there's something to that. And I was introduced to this word glocal. I think the first time I ever heard it is when I met Sandra Van Opstel, and she talks about this, and so I think that's really important. What you're doing and the purpose of what you're doing, and why do you feel like there's this assimilation? Like, why do we want to sound just like Hillsong, or why do we want to sound like Bethel, or we have Maverick City, which why do we want to sound just like that? How do we take, the elements of our culture, because you think about all the derivatives of music that has been birthed out of just culture and place and language. I think about, gospel music. I'm thinking about, if there was no blues or no there would be no country, or you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of things build, you think about the banjo that's in country music, where that comes from. How do we keep from losing ourselves, especially in the Christian space, and really seeing Christianity and music broader than Western culture? Well, not so much as Western culture, but I would say broader than what you would say white. Let's put it as easy as that. Like, how do we make it broader than white? Because you can go to a lot of churches that are ethnically diverse, but when you hear the worship, it sounds one way, or they're singing CCM. I just attended a conference, and the people on stage, they were very diverse, but every song that they wrote, every song that they were singing, was all CCM music. So how do we shift that, and how did we end up here?
Yeah, wow. Thank you. I love this conversation, and I want to begin by a conversation that I had with a really good friend of mine. He's a phenomenal artist, someone that definitely you should check out. I think I told Lauren about him. His name is Micah Bornay.
Okay.
But him and I just talked about this specific conversation. And, it's so funny when you have this conversation regularly, you start to, come up with pretty fun metaphors. But the way we were able to talk about it is the fact that, we both grew up eating white bread, have a love for white bread. But there's something to grieve when that is the only thing that's available. And so I just think about just the the point that I got to was realizing, like, why is this the only standard? Why is this the only standard of worship, of style? And I think it's directly connected. If you just look at the way that Black music has become more socially acceptable, you know, as long as it's been around and influenced the music that we currently have before us and celebrate, and even just looking, I mean, even looking at the Super Bowl, right? Like, we're talking about this was this was music that was once, you know, banned, you know, now is something that is celebrated, you know, on this last Super Bowl. When you look at the place that hip hop has gotten, I would say that even just musically with different genres, there's always been certain genres that have been considered more sacred than others. And so I think that we're starting to see a lot more integrations with not just genre, but just music that, you know, you look at reggae and the way that even just reggae has become more mainstream and even incorporated in just a lot of different other styles of pop music. You know, this is what my dad did, you know, like ultimately, yes, we grew up on gospel music, but, you know, we found a way to make these genres our own. And what that looked like is, you know, songs had a more tropical vibe to it, had a more reggae, had a touch of reggae, and not because reggae came from Tonga, but this was the kind of music that was really resonating with our people.
Okay.
And so I think ultimately, you know, so much of what I feel is happening is, I think people are starting to ask questions that they've never asked before. You know, why are there certain styles of worship, you know, more, or I guess, why are certain styles of worship the standard? And I think, you know, it's all connected. To me, it feels like if you look at the music that's being pushed and played on radio, a lot of it is the same. I mean, as a worship leader, I'm regularly trying to look up songs about a specific theme for a Sunday. And, you know, 90% of the artists, 95% of the artists are all white. And so I think ultimately there is a scarcity when it comes to what is actually available. And so I think these Glocal songs, you know, is being able to say, hey, this is us. If you look at your congregations, we are a lot more diverse than we would like to admit. And I think these Glocal songs, so much more than providing an answer, they give us the space to ask the questions. You know, why does liturgy look, sound, and feel the same way when there's so many different experiences and people just sitting in our congregations? And if there isn't, then why is that? And so, I mean, for me, over the last 10 years, learning these songs from different cultures and different languages has really actually deepened my theology and given me tools to move towards curiosity rather than judgment whenever I experience something that's different, especially in church.
Right. And I think it's because our spirit like kind of resonates. I remember like going to Venezuela, or when you're in like a worship service where they're speaking Spanish and they begin to pray in Spanish. I may not understand every word that's being said, but my spirit like recognizes it. Like you can sense the Spirit of God. And I think the thing that, you know, especially in the States and America, we really feel like Jesus speaks English, you know? And like when we read Bible stories that of them praying or them singing, that we're thinking like, oh, they were singing in English, you know, and that, you know, that because when you're a part of the dominant culture, like you kind of see through that lens. And I think this is just a reality of, you know, of more inclusion and So when you talk about, like, I think when you introduce yourself, you said your name in Tongan. You introduce yourself in Tongan. Like, and so what would you say, like, when you hear a song, what is a song in Tongan like that we may recognize, but I want you to give it to us in your own language. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, what is something like a song that represents your culture that you would sing?
Ultimately, let me just share one song. So, like, Andre Crouch's "Soon and Very Soon," soon and very soon.
Yeah, we
are going to see the King. Like, so my dad and a few other Tongan worship leaders, would take that and "Gravave mai Aisea Taimani, ke felo aki moho tau eki." So we would take, a lot of these gospel songs and just make it our own. But, one of the things that I think makes one of the things that I love about our people is our ability to harmonize. And that's something that I feel like we have to offer. If you go to Tonga on a Sunday morning, first of all, there's a church on every corner. And I think some churches have the ability to have PowerPoint, but they still go off memory. Every Sunday you walk into a church and you'll hear 3-part, 4-part harmonies, and it's nobody's holding music charts, but it's something that is just deeply ingrained in our culture. Singing is not something that's reserved for professionals or for the creatives. This singing and music is a way that we connect with Almighty God, and we connect with each other, and so that's one of the things that I love about where I come from, is how singing is just something. This is just what we do. That's what we did growing up. Every morning we wake up, we would sing. My dad would provide a morning devotional. But again, that's why gospel music really resonated with our Tongan community, just because of the ways that harmony is utilized in music.
Yeah, I was listening to one of your songs, and you started the song that you were saying, the Andre Crouch, "Soon and Very Soon." You have a song that's similar to that. That was the first thing I thought of when I heard one of your songs. I don't know if it's on the album you just released with Minor Allen, but. Do you remember the song? I can't remember the name of it, but it's similar.
Absolutely, yeah. It's can I share the story?
Yes, definitely.
So that song is called "Soon and Very Soon."
Soon and very soon she's coming. Soon and very soon. Soon and very soon she's coming. Soon and very soon. Soon and very soon she's coming. Soon and very soon. I will sing but won't pretend like she is here right now.
Okay. Soon and Very Soon. And I wrote that song years ago after a trip in Uganda. And so growing up, again, so much of my story is growing up in a Bay Area, and my father moving us to suburban Newark. That's not so suburban anymore, but that was the beginning of my assimilation. That was the beginning of my just wanting to fit in. And a huge part of my story is being ashamed of our tradition, our practices, and even our people. And so it wasn't until years later that I actually went to Uganda, even just the name, right? Even my name.
Right.
The truth is, the reason why I keep, gently correcting you, because just growing up, I actually just told friends, as a part of just wanting to fit in, to pronounce my name Aisea, just like we pronounce it. And it was wild because it wasn't until I was 22 years old and I went to Uganda to go do some service work with a few friends. And when I got off the plane, this brother, not even knowing who I was, just shouted my name. I don't know how he was able to do that, but he literally said Aisea. And when he said that, my immediate response was Goao. And so that's a Tongan response of here I am. And in that moment, it's wild that I felt closer to home in Uganda than I did in Santa Monica and Los Angeles, where I was currently living and working. And so I came back after that trip, this really transformative trip, and started asking my friends, hey, I know you've been saying Aisea, but actually, can you pronounce my name right, Aisea? And you know, a lot of friends didn't have a problem with it, and were willing to make that change for me. But I was surprised that there were some friends that would ask me, what's the difference? What's the big deal? And I was able to respond back that when you pronounce my name correctly, you actually celebrate my grandfather and you honor my ancestors. So something as simple as a name can really actually make you feel seen and recognized. But I wrote that song shortly after because of just the neighbors that I came to love in Uganda. And justice and peace and freedom were no longer things that I felt like I could truly celebrate unless those neighbors in Uganda were able to all share those freedoms. Before I left Uganda, I went to a 4th of July celebration that a lot of the missionaries from the States were celebrating in Uganda, in Kampala. And it was such an awkward experience because, you know, it was at the U.S. Embassy, the hotel that near the U.S. Embassy. And, to have God Bless America, blaring on the speakers in Uganda for freedoms that I just felt like, man, after spending some time there were just certain things I could no longer fully celebrate unless my neighbors had access of those freedoms as well. And so that's where that song comes from. And a lot of folks ask me, why do you refer to freedom, justice, and peace as she? And it was for me it was just like, when I think of freedom, when I think of peace, I think of my grandmother. And I'm just like, we so many times when we refer to things that are sacred and holy, it's often masculine. And so for me, it was just an opportunity to write something. And it's kind of wild because this song, Soon and Very Soon, has actually made a little traction, specifically in the Lutheran denomination, in the ELCA, because people have just really resonated with this collective approach to justice, to freedom, to peace, to love, that until it's here for all of us, then it's not quite here yet. And so that's where that song comes from.
Wow, incredible insights. Don't go anywhere. We're going to pause for a quick moment and we'll be right back.
Hey friends, just interrupting this conversation real quick to share about another one of our incredible partners, Epic Will. We're getting a little bit older now, so it's time for us to think long term. Do you want to protect your family? Leave a legacy? Live with confidence. With Epic Will, it's about estate building. They've made it easy to not only get your last will and testament so you can name a guardian, but you'll also be able to ensure your health care wishes are known and that people you trust are able to speak for you. There are a variety of reasons why someone should create a will sooner rather than later. Turning 18, purchasing a house, a change in marital status, a new addition to the family. With these and other monumental moments in your life, you want to make sure you're in control. Protect yourself. Live confidently. and give your loved ones a legacy and a peace of mind. Epic Will has thought of everything that you don't have to think of, and that is great. So go to epicwill.com, as little as 5 minutes, and for only $99, you can create an early estate plan with Epic Will. Again, that's Epic Will, and use the promo code BTB20 for 20% off. So go to epicwill.com, and in as little as 5 minutes and only for $99, you can create an early estate plan with Epic Will. Again, that's epicwill.com, and use the promo code BTB for 20% off.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's get back to our conversation.
I love it. I love it. You know, when I heard it, I was just like, wow, this is like it's fresh. It's it was just it calls me to think deeper. And so just to hear that backdrop of the why, is so important, when you talk about multicultural music and its importance, in the church, but then also, through the message of Jesus, why would you say, if you're in a multicultural church, why should multicultural churches, especially multicultural churches, why should they do multicultural music? Why is that important?
Well, I mean, it's beautiful. It's also heartbreaking. I regularly, whenever I do a song in Spanish, or whenever I do a song, yesterday I was at a church in San Francisco where I taught and led a song in sign language. You have individuals that are oftentimes the minority in a congregation who will come up to me after and will let me know how much that meant to them. That's something that they were surprised by, and that doesn't happen regularly. But there's often someone who comes up and says, "This morning made me feel like home" from just that one song. And so I think it's a tool again. I don't think that it provides the answer, but I think it's a tool to really ask the question: why is liturgy the way that it is? Why is history? Why are we today where we are? I believe it's because we haven't been given the whole story. And I believe when your story meets my story, we find God's story. And so I think these songs have a real important role in helping us to truly understand and know each other. If we look at just the story of the Good Samaritan, right? Like, it's such a baffling thing that people don't see, that when Jesus refers to the Good Samaritan and telling that story, it's really calling us to seek out the other, whoever that might be, not just ethnically, culturally, personality wise, like politically, like who is the other? And that is the person that I'm calling you to love. And so just from that place, that continues to be what challenges me. Why should we seek out relationships and friendships with people that are different than us? That story is a direct call. It's a command that these are the people that we ought to ask ourselves, why are they not here in our congregations? And I just think, as again, I find myself, oftentimes a little intimidated being in these spaces, feeling like academically, I can feel insecure sometimes. But again, my experience with music and these songs, I love Bob Marley's quote, those who feel it know it. Those who feel it know it. And I can't explain to you how a 3-part, 4-part harmony from Tonga feels like, but I promise you that when you hear my people sing with all of their heart, they have something to teach the rest of the world about who God is. And when you stand in a church, a deaf church, and you watch these people engaging God with their bodies, and the subwoofers is thumping because they can actually still feel music. They have something to teach us about how to connect with God using our bodies.
Wow.
But, if you just look at the ways that we've elevated, worship to being something that's very cerebral and intellectual, we really miss out. There's people, our neighbors. There's people, not just globally, but these global folks are our neighbors, and they have something to teach us about who God is, and maybe even teach us about who we are as a people. And these songs, again, so much more than singing in different languages. The spirit, the feeling that you get when you experience something that both inspires and challenges you, I think is something that the church has been missing out on. And I really love, Sung Chan Ra. He came and spoke at our church a few years ago, and just really speaking to, just lament and the place that has, and how that's been missing in the church. And just looking at how so many cultures have a thing or two to teach us about what it means to lament as well.
Yeah.
Where oftentimes worship on Sunday mornings here in the States can be just focus on celebration, praise, and gratitude. But I think part of worship is being able to cry out and ask God for help. And I find a lot of those songs coming from the global South.
Did you know that right now in 2022, a time when cryptocurrency and space travel and self-driving cars are a thing, nearly 1 in 10 people still lack access to clean water. People who live without water can spend hours trying to find it, and the water they do find is often contaminated and can make their entire family sick. But Charity Water is on a mission to change that. Since 2006, they have funded community-owned water projects in 29 countries, providing clean and safe water for nearly 15 million people, and proven each project with photos and GPS coordinates. Please consider supporting Charity Water today. Your act of compassion will positively impact lives around the world. Whether you donate once or choose to join their monthly giving community, this spring, 100% of your donation will help bring clean and safe water to families in need. So visit charitywater.org/bridge to learn more. Again, that's charitywater.org/bridge. I just recently heard a young lady at a conference that did a whole album of lament. And, and I was like, that's something we need to tap into, but it's an entire album of lament. And like you said, sometimes we don't like to stay there, but how that has its place, just like praise and celebration has its place. And I feel like, even with, gospel music and the history of the good news, the gospel music, praise and worship, I have a deeper appreciation for even gospel now, understanding how it has its place along with contemporary and in different genres of Christian music. And I think we have to really expand our palettes, to enjoy other types of music, and not just when we're in another country, but even in our own country, within our own church, within our own worship service. I think some of the stretching of that is good. I think a lot of times people invite in choirs from international choirs and different things like that. And so for that Sunday, everybody's okay with singing something's different. But if we're not singing, kind of like your worship language the next Sunday, we feel some kind of way. And I heard this pastor tell me, and leading a multi-ethnic, multicultural church, is that when you're a part of a body like that you have to be okay with only being comfortable, maybe 60% of the time, and are we all right with that? We want things the way we want it. And but in a multicultural church, when you are being expanded and being exposed, like to hear worship, different styles of worship, different styles of dance, being exposed to that, to me, that makes us better humans,
Absolutely.
and not one dimensional, as it relates to that. What are some of the challenges that you've seen, or maybe you've faced personally in your own experiences within churches and leading multicultural worship?
Yeah. Oh man. I think one of the things that come to mind is how convenient we've how convenient and how comfortable and how for lack of better, let me rephrase this. I want to be very
you could go ahead and say, we can always edit, so go ahead and say what you think here.
Okay, all right. So I think this, right? It's very, 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 very Western. I mean, and I've come to really have a deep love and appreciation for order, right? So one of the things I feel that's challenging is how convenient, how comfortable, and how predictable Sundays are. And I think, like when you're managing something every week, that's to be expected. But I think for me, some of the pushback that I've gotten is that it's too much change too fast, and that would be initially, that would be me singing. So if a formula for me on a Sunday morning is singing 2 CCM songs, a hymn, and then being able to introduce a Glocal song, a song in a different language, being able to story, contextualize, and connect that to the theme that morning. That's something that people can probably stomach, for a few weeks. But in my experience, after a little while, you'll have people who will either say it's too much change, or they just don't understand why we're doing this. And even though I can contextualize and story and talk about the importance, I think it's a deeper conversation to where staff and leadership have to be doing the work. Whether it's be the bridge, but I think there's a difference between appreciation and appropriation, and oftentimes you find yourself appropriating when you're not doing that work. So I think oftentimes people can even tokenize Glocal worship, wanting to do that without actually asking yourself, okay, who are the people in our congregation, and how are we incorporating and inviting them, giving them a seat at the table, to be a part of what we're trying to do. I think sometimes we're quick to fix or try to fix without actually involving the people in our community.
That's so good. That's so good. Like the tokenism part and how we can do that instead of like seeing the people. Like it's important to see the people and making sure they're connecting. I know a lot of times people feel like, if we have a multicultural church, the challenges go away. It's like, no, this is because you have so much diversity and you're trying to find that middle ground. You're always in the tension. So it's really easy to do homogenous churches, but because everyone likes the same thing. They look the same, but when you're trying to really represent the kingdom of God, in your local church. That's difficult to tap into and to find that middle ground. You have some songs that I really want to talk about, because let me tell you guys, and I know sometimes you hear people talk about music and then you listen to it and you're like, oh, it doesn't stand up to the hype. I'm telling you, you have to download this music and listen to it and share it, because it's really good. I mean, I had the privilege of hearing you in person, and you how you engaged the audience. That was just great. I didn't know what to expect, and I think you got up there. You didn't have your shoes on, and it reminded me of I had a worship leader in Austin, Texas, and her name was Jenny, and Jenny she sings with no shoes on. Like, that's like, it's just like her and the Lord, and I just love it. And so when you went up there, I was like, he's about to put it on us right now. He don't have no shoes on right now. But I'm saying, like, being able to see that, hey, that is normal too. Having shoes or not having shoes on, that is a part of your cultural reference too. And I think it's a beautiful thing. But I wanted to talk about some of the stories behind some of your songs, and just some of the journey. And there's this one song that you have that's called "Be Still."
I will be still. Be still.
And this thing has like over 1 million hits, I know, on it. But tell me a little bit about that song and the process and what it means to you, and maybe even some feedback that you've heard from other people who have been just blessed by the song.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really humbled to just hear the way that this song has resonated with people. For me, and so many of my songs just come from my own, yearnings, my own, my own experience. And so I think, just like many of us, I found myself constantly triggered and reactive, especially over the last few years, on social media, at church, with the kind of conversations that I was having with really close friends of mine, who are also, people of faith. And I just realized that so much of I realized that some of the work that I needed to do in order to marathon, in order to continue this work is self-care. I found myself just getting angry. I found myself, having to apologize, and just not being effective in bridge building. And so this song was just a simple journal entry, and just recognizing that sometimes the best move to make is not making a move at all. And just knowing that if I just take a moment and do my breathing exercises, do my gratitude, I find myself more effective and more grounded to be able to re-enter into tough conversations that I think the church is just learning to have. And so, be still, is being able to remember what actually is in our control, and then being able to let go of what's out of our control. And so for me, this song has been a song that I've needed to practice, and I still continue to. But it made it onto a Spotify playlist. I think Jesus and Coffee. And so a lot of folks have reached out over the last few months, last couple of years since I released it, to let them know that this has been a tool that they've been able to utilize to be able to to care for themselves so that we can care for each other.
Right. I love that. Caring for yourself so that we can care for each other. I love that. And I know the value of just in the moment, especially when things seem like chaos all around you, just taking those deep breaths and just being still and recognizing that God is at work, that God is in control, and you're not. Like, those pauses are life altering. And I think, songs like this, are a reminder for us to do that. And then you have another one called Golden Kingdom.
And I just want to find my way back home. And I just want to find my way back home. Find a place that I can call my own. These mistakes is killing me, willfully dropping my conscience for pleasure, forgive me. I'm a wretch forever seeking for your healing, hoping that your grace is far more than just a feeling, but of seeing is believing. I've been living in the dark, man, wondering where you are so I can give you my heart, mind, and soul. The finish line I must stop, but it feels like I've been looking.
What's the story? Like, tell me a little bit about that one.
Yeah, again, that song is my prodigal son narrative, both spiritually and culturally. Really detailing my journey of assimilation to slowly finding myself closer to home. I was humbled to be able to capture this song specifically with my whole family. So I actually made a music video that can give you a visual of what this journey was like. But yeah, I think there's just growing up. I never felt Tongan enough for my Tongan community.
Yeah.
And I never fully felt American enough as well. And so I just constantly found myself trying to be one or the other. And this song is about really, accepting that deeper than my title as a Tongan or an American is as a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. And that exists inside of us all. And so that's where that song comes from. But yeah, I'm really grateful that song was birthed out of long drives with, again, my close friend Micah Bournet, and just having conversations with him just about that journey. And so really grateful to be able to share that song with the world.
Yeah. And you talk a lot about like this, this kind of moving to suburbia, and there was this tension of like, okay, I'm not accepted by, I don't feel accepted by the Tongan community, but I also don't feel like I fit into this other box either, this American box. And I know that a lot of people who are listening right now, that's going to resonate with them. What was the turning point for you in realizing that, like, you didn't have to fit in these boxes separately, but you are all of that. You embody all of that. How did you come to that conclusion? Or if you came to that conclusion, how did you kind of wrestle with that, and where are you now in this journey?
Yeah, I think music, if you just look at, genres and the way that music has evolved, for me, that's what kind of gave me like almost the freedom to not try to fit into these boxes, but being able to celebrate all the different parts of me, and to say all of that is me. So even on my record Closer to Home, something that was really intentional is being able to have all these different styles, from jazz to funk to hip hop to reggae to soul to gospel, R&B, all of that is heard and felt on my record closer to home. But it was just this moment of just acceptance that actually I'm all of the people who have raised me. I am all the artists and the music and the art and the sermons and the Sunday mornings that raised me. I'm all of that. So why have I tried to fit in these two boxes when the truth is, even my own family, my youngest brother married a white girl, my middle brother married a Mexican girl, and last year I married a Persian girl, a girl from Iran. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately, this is America and this is Tonga, and we are Glocal as a family, So it's just I think more than just like an aha, it was an acceptance of being able to say, wait, why have I tried to be American or Tongan when the truth is my identity as a citizen of the kingdom of heaven is what forms me from the inside out.
That's so good. That's so good. And you have another song that I think this one may have been on the I just saw this. It was like, I think this one may be on YouTube. Maybe on YouTube, I think.
Take a stand.
Take a stand.
I thought the fight was black and white, my golden turned to gray. My fathers weren't the masters, my mothers weren't the slaves. My island full of silence as my neighbors mourn in rage, just waiting for the ending of a war.
What has been what was the journey for that song, and what is the backdrop of that? The words, it seems like your journey, of like watching some of the injustice from the outside, and it's like, okay, finding my place and my voice in it. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, thank you. That song, Take a Stand, is a confession, and not just a personal, but just one that I just really struggle with over the last few years. When a lot of the riots were happening, I was watching just the way that people were reacting on social media, and a lot of it weren't just strangers, but these are folks that I've worshiped with. These are folks that were family to me. And so, I just really struggle with how to use my voice. And, I was recognizing that a lot of folks were quick to post themselves at a protest. But at the same time, I was really feeling like, what now? And so the spaces that I found myself in, or I guess for me, if I could say the conclusion I came to is that the work that I need to do, what taking a stand for me looks like, is befriending and building relationships with people who think differently than I do, specifically politically, especially around conversations about justice. And so I think, the invitation from that song, so much more than taking a stance on a particular issue. What does it look like to do the heavy work of sitting at the table with people that you disagree with, and learning how to listen. So I think that song is a challenge to myself, and also to all people doing the work towards justice and peace, and learning that that friendship is a really powerful tool towards change. And how do we position ourselves so much more than providing the answers? but being able to create spaces where we can sit together and truly understand why it is that we believe what we believe. But yeah, more than just taking a stand, how do we sit? How do we listen? How do we learn?
Yeah. So have you found that your music is kind of like, a bridge builder in conversations?
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of the music that has deeply shaped me, even on my album, I have some spirituals, that were shared with me by my Black brothers and sisters, building me a home. I'm building me a home when I'm seeking justice, when I'm loving mercy, when I'm walking humbly. I'm building us a home. Even just the song, the folk song, "Keep Your Eyes on the Prize."
Yes,
there's always been a deep fascination about these songs that recognize that we have come far, but we still have a long way to go. We have come far, but keep your eyes on the prize. I mean, these songs, have really been a way for me to talk about the journey closer to home, and it's so much more than arriving, but it's about the journey, right? You hear this all the time, but I feel like I'm just scratching the surface on what it means to celebrate how far we've come, but the work ain't finished, and it ain't finished until kingdom come.
Yeah.
And so I think, oftentimes we see people settle when they're comfortable. We see people settle when they feel like they've individually arrived. But I just love the collectivism of the Lord's Prayer, and just the way that Jesus teaches us to be. Like, no, we ain't finished until we arrive together. So, and part of that is my own story, being able to talk about where I've come from and where I believe God is calling me to. The ability to bridge build is also recognizing, that the music, so much more than genre and style, is actually the soundtrack to people's lives. Like, I didn't grow up listening to country, or having a deep love for it, but I went to summer camp, in my 20s, and I remember just like them blasting country, in the dining room hall, and then a few of my friends that I swore like didn't listen to country either were all singing along, and I was like, oh man, like I didn't know these people as good as I thought I did,
right?
And country was now something that was closer to home. And so much of my music, is constantly challenging myself to venture into relationships with people of different soundtracks or different music or different stories. And so that's something that's very intentional in my music, to constantly, celebrate all the different genres that raise me.
That's so good. I just saw there's a documentary, I think it was on Prime Video, I can't even remember, so many streaming services, about country and just the diversity of people that are finding their place in that, and where country has its roots, and and just the expansion of the music, so I think there's just so much that we can learn through music. Now, I want, like, one of the things with you, we met at this event down in Florida, and I want to kind of talk about this just for a moment, just to help encourage other people, and then also to remember that. But this was, I was going to this conference, and it was in this island outside of Tampa, Florida. And as we were driving in, I was like, oh my goodness, like I've never been to a place like this. Is just like the Stepford Wives, or my friend and I that were driving in, we were like, this is like this feels like Get Out. Like,
Yep.
we were making all these references because it was like everything was like kind of cookie cutter. It was very white. It was a very white space, and I'm used to being in these spaces. This is a lot of the spaces that God has called me into, but a lot of times, there is sometimes this discomfort, like this kind of square peg, round hole type thing that you feel, or you can feel displaced, and you don't know how people are going to accept your message or what you have to say. You don't know if you're going to be met with aggression or anger or fear. Like, there's a lot that goes through your mind as a person that does what I do across the country, but it's always great when you go into spaces like this, and there are people of peace like yourselves that are like, "Hey, I got you. You know what? I got you. Like, come sit over here, eat. Look, hey, come on, let's walk over here." Like, introducing me to people, and sharing your story, and creating space, and that's what you did for me and my assistant when we were down there, and I just so appreciated that, and just hearing your story. As soon as I came back, I was like, I want to have him on the podcast. There are some amazing things, and I think the work that we do, it takes us out into this space out of our boxes that allows us to interact and connect with people that are doing some beautiful things for the kingdom of God. And so it makes the kingdom of God more vast, and we get to see. And so we want to bring a little bit to the community that we serve, where sometimes people are not exposed to the things that we're exposed to. And so I wanted just to say that and say thank you, brother. And I just appreciate it. And I told you, like, I'm going to follow up. We're going to be connected, and we did just that. And I feel like this is just the beginning. There's some things, we're doing within Be the Bridge that I definitely see you and your music being a part of. If you could dream big now, if you could write a song with anyone, who would it be and what would it be? If you could write a song with anyone.
I would probably choose Ben Harper.
Okay.
So Ben Harper has been a real big influence because his ability to sing about everything, and to be able to do it in such an authentic way. I didn't always love my voice, but I remember just hearing the way that his emotions were able to cut through the speakers. And I realized that so much more than having people understand the words that are coming from my mouth. I wanted them to feel what my heart was feeling as well. And so I just really started to learn how to, so much more than sounding pretty. How can I really connect my heart with my voice? And a lot of the songs that he sung just really did a great job for me of confusing the box, right? Like, is it sacred? Is it secular? Is it worldly? Is it gospel? And I'll never forget my mom asking me, son, is your album going to be a gospel record? Is it going to be a worldly record? And I just told my mom, I was like, Mom, it's going to be honest. It's going to be honest. And if you don't know that I'm a person of faith, by the end of my music, then maybe you weren't listening. And as a person of faith, I'm also incredibly aware of my humanity and my depravity and my need for a savior, my need for community. And Ben Harper's music, specifically a song called Better Way. And this song, you know, it's got a lot of the ingredients of a Sunday school spiritual. You know, like This Little Light of Mine. You know, like even just Building Me a Home, a lot of these songs, you know, are really just simple phrases. But man, if anybody can say those words, but can you say it with that much conviction? And I think for me, songwriting so much more than wooing and impressing people. How can you relate? How can you connect? And I just love just the authenticity, the vulnerability that Ben Harper's writing has, and just the ability to, again, inspire and challenge at the same time.
Okay. Wow. I never heard of Ben Harper until I may have, but I don't know. But I don't think I'd heard of him until now. You just mentioned it. See how you're exposing us already. And I know a lot of people are going to go look him up in his music because of what you're saying. I think that's incredible. What are some things, and and there's a book that I want to tell those of you who are listening, and if this is your first introduction to this type of conversation as it relates to worship, maybe you never even thought about the type of worship and really thinking more global, or, thinking beyond, what we would deem as, I guess, American music as it relates to the global church. So if we have a global church, then our worship should also be global. But I know I mentioned Sandra Van Opsel. She has a book called The Next Worship, and I think this is something that goes along with what we're talking about today. What are some things, I ask, as we get ready to close, I typically ask each guest, in this work of racial bridge building, in this work of when we think about racial justice and reconciliation work, there's a lot of ups and downs, it's when you're dealing with such a complex issue, and we're dealing with not just our own brokenness, but the brokenness of the world. It could really be discouraging, but I think it's important, like we were talking about, important to, 50% of the songs are about lament, and I think there's breakthrough in lament. It's our petition to God, to ask God to move and to change and to transform. What are some things that you are personally lamenting now in this space?
I think access. If I could say that one of the things that I'm seeing that is just how convenient and how comfortable, again, we've made church. People can now just zoom in or go to church online in their PJs, and I think as simple as it sounds, I think convenience and comfort, is what keeps us, and security. I'll say that. I'll say security is what keeps us from our fullest potential. But I think just the importance that lamenting and these songs that come from other people, other cultures that can teach us about what sacred lament, what prophetic lament looks like. I think it's necessary, right? Like suffering is the thing that leads us towards compassion.
Yeah.
And so
Love it.
I lament how convenient and how comfortable the church has become, because I think it's what keeps us from bridge building. It what keeps us from pursuing justice, because I think we value our convenience, we value our comfort, we value our security, and unfortunately, this movement, this kingdom is all about giving our lives up for our faith and for one another. And so, yeah, I just lament, that it's weird to say, right? Like, I lament that there isn't enough, there isn't more spaces in the church for us to lament.
That's good. That's good. What's bringing you hope right now?
I think more than ever. I mean, as hard as these last couple of years have been, specifically with how divided I've felt the church has been, I am seeing a lot of hope. I am seeing people having conversations that just we've never had, and I'm seeing people have conversations that I've never seen. And just the work that you're doing, the kind of access that you're giving me and that you're giving the church, to just simply, remove the shame from the fact that, hey, so much of who we are, we've been conditioned, in school and in church. And so I'm finding so much hope in the work that you're doing and the work that many churches are doing, to be able to remove the shame from where we are, and then to actually do the long work necessary to truly be about God's kingdom. So I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for just the work that the church is. It seems like we're just beginning, but yeah, and more than ever, I am seeing an openness from churches who are saying, hey, we heard on the street that, you do this thing called Glocal worship, and I think our church is ready for it. Where that wasn't really the case, a few years ago. I was constantly, just brought in to do the typical. But I think as people are learning that there's another way of incorporating, our neighbors into liturgy. It's been really hopeful and exciting, just to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And, we'll have all your information listed, but, you guys go and download this and purchase this album live and direct. I know it will be a blessing to you. And Aisea, just really, I would say just continue to be authentic, and creative, in the space that God has created for you. I'm grateful to have met you. I feel like this is just the beginning of that. I feel like I'm struggling with pronunciation and stuff, but we're gonna get that, say.
That just means we gotta spend more time together.
Go to the donors table if you'd like to hear the unedited version of this podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Be the Bridge podcast. To find out more about the Be the Bridge organization and or to become a bridge builder in your community, go to bethebridge.com. Again, that's bethebridge.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, remember to rate and review it on this platform and share it with as many people as you possibly can. You can also connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Today's show was edited, recorded, and produced by Travon Potts at Integrated Entertainment Studios in Metro Atlanta, Georgia. The host and executive producer is Latasha Morrison. Lauren C. Brown is the senior producer.
And transcribed by Sarah Connatser.
Please join us next time. This has been a Be the Bridge production.